enemy's framing is illegitimate. The enemy's premises are invalid. The enemy's definitions are wrong. The enemy's language is foreign. The enemy is in my house, but I am not under siege. Oh no! Attack! 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 The enemy's ethics corrupt. The enemy's morals void. The enemy's coffers loot. The enemy's moral break. The enemy's position size. The enemy is in my house. Wrong place, wrong time, wrong move. Sucker! Attack! 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 Attack!
All right, welcome back to Burn Pile. Here we go. I'm feeling a lot of energy this week. A lot of energy. You know, I didn't think that Trump would actually do it with the really crazy tariffs. I thought it would keep going back and forth. He'd keep delaying. He'd give in. No matter how many times he proves himself, I'm still an idiot. I still keep thinking he'll be a pussy and he won't do this stuff. He really did it. He really did the mass tariffs on everyone, and it's amazing. He's crashing the stock market with no survivors. It's great. It's great. High energy, lots of beautiful tweets happening right now. I heard that Vietnam surrendered. Finally. I think we've been fighting that one for a long time. Speaking of Vietnam, you ever watch these reaction channels? These it's like they're kind of designed for middle-aged lonely divorced men, and they'll watch these reaction channels. Hold on, I'll just bring it up. Why not bring it up? I actually didn't put this in the notes. I didn't think I would go here today, but I'll go ahead and bring it up before we get into the really before we get into the really interesting stuff. The stuff we're all here for. The fun stuff, the Trump stuff. Before we get to that, let's look at this Vietnamese reaction channel. It's really, really popular. It's called Movie Munchies. Hold on, I'll go ahead and share this now. So Movie Munchies, it's these two girls from Vietnam, and they watch all of your favorite movies, TV shows, and they react to them, and they're like, "Oh my God, I didn't know Clint Eastwood was such a good actor. Would someone please mansplain to me some kind of story about Clint Eastwood in the comments of this video?" And they get tens of thousands of views, and then they get Patreon money. And the money they get on Patreon, it would be decent in America, but in Vietnam, I think it feeds the whole village. Let's see. How many members do they have? Let's have a look here. Oh, they're hiding their number of members, but it's a lot because they have over 300 likes on their last post. So they're probably making many thousands of dollars, which is a very good salary for probably 2 or 3 people in Vietnam. And so interestingly, their channel was deleted this week because they reacted to the Wolf of Wall Street. I like how whenever I describe something, I'm like, yeah, it's for 65-year-old divorced men. It's for fucking losers. And then I go into depth explaining it, and I know everything about it. That's called a lack of self-awareness, folks. That's what that is. No, I watch it. It's entertaining. And I don't even mansplain to them in the comments. I just, when I go take a shower after I watched one of their reaction videos, I sort of imagine myself mansplaining to them this movie. Like, yeah, Unforgiven, it's actually an anti-Western, ladies. Did you know that? Um, that's a way to pretend to feel important. But yeah, they got their channel deleted for reacting to The Wolf of Wall Street. Ladies, can I tell you about Martin Scorsese? Let me tell you what they yeah, they got their channel deleted for that. Just the whole channel just nuked. Which is something that's going to happen to this channel. You may have noticed the new opening, and some of that music that I'm going to play is very questionable. Wait till you hear the outro, folks. Yeah, they got their channel deleted, and then it came back. Now, personally, I think Donald Trump had something to do with it. Okay, I think Vietnam got hit with the sanctions. As soon as the channel got deleted, Trump hit Vietnam. I think probably hitting all the countries was a cover. I think this was mostly about getting movie Munchies back. He hit all the countries with sanctions. Really, he was just targeting Vietnam. Vietnam immediately caved. They gave in, and movie Munchies got their channel back. Trump did it. He's not going to let his constituents down. He knows people like you and me. We want, we want racial conflict out there in the streets, but then in the comfort of our own homes, we want to mansplain Unforgiven to these nice seeming Vietnamese girls. He knows that we want that. He knows that we need that. He knows that's why he was elected, and he came through for us again. He did it again. He did it again. I usually start these by talking about the weather for the first 10 or 20 minutes. And I was too embarrassed to do that when I was listening to the song I played for the intro today, which was Attack, Attack, Attack by Orcbrand. And if you don't know who Orcbrand is, I've played his music before. I did play it before on this podcast. I forgot about that. He makes this AI-generated music. It's really kind of cringe and gay, but in a good way. It's our kind of cringe and gay. And there's something about him that's just very likable. I think I DM'd with him before and said, "Can I use your music on the podcast?" And he said, "It's all AI made. I don't give a fuck, bro. Just do whatever you want." And I had read in some Substack article about him reading a manifesto at the National Futurist Society or something, some event that they had. And so I asked him something about that. I don't remember the DM, and I can't look it up because that account got nuked and he had to make another one. So that DM is gone. But he said something. I was talking about that manifesto. I think I was trying to find it or something so I could read it. And he said, I think he said he didn't remember what it was. And I said, "Do you have a lot of manifestos?" And he said, "So many." So he writes these manifestos, and then he writes these it's really entertaining AI songs. Yeah, I really like that guy. Futurism is a fun thing to mansplain to people, I think. It would be I'd imagine, I think tonight when I go into my mind palace of crippling loneliness, I'm going to mansplain to these Vietnamese girls in my mind Italian futurism based on a Wikipedia article I read half of 3 years ago. And I'm going to feel important. Okay? I'm going to be like, is that article even in Vietnamese? Is your reading comprehension high enough to even understand the Wikipedia article about futurism? Okay? It's a pre-fascistic art movement. Okay, can you understand a concept like that? Because you were struggling with some of the subtitles on RoboCop. Okay, you were struggling with some of the comments explaining Paul Verhoeven to you. All right, ladies, Although interestingly, I think they probably do understand. Speaking of Paul Verhoeven, they probably do understand a movie like Starship Troopers better than the people shrieking about media literacy on X. The people who relate to the bugs in Starship Troopers, and the sort of surface level thing where it's a satire. Hey, you know how everybody talks about like Faust, and it's like it's everybody only wants to talk about Satan or Mephistopheles, in that, and it's because of how it's written, and you can tell there's something there. And even though the intent of the piece from the author is the sort of anti devil story, it's about the temptation, but how it's not good. But all anybody wants to talk about is the devil because of how it's written, and there's like, oh, there's something there that's maybe the author wasn't even quite aware of, right? Like the surface level anti-devil story isn't the thing. I mean, I'm not going to go like fully into it, like I know what I'm talking about, but just if you were to study it, that's the first thing you'd run into, right? And then you watch like Starship Troopers, and it's like, here's this really, really exciting story of a fascist society fighting bugs, which are clearly something that needs to be defeated. And, it's real triumphant and propagandistic, and there's obvious jokes and hyperbole in it. But, hey, do you think, Mr. Media Literacy, that perhaps there's something there that Paul Verhoeven was tapping into that maybe he wasn't fully aware of? Maybe he wouldn't want to admit like how attractive it was. He's like, oh wow, when you make this really attractive, it is really attractive. Like, I don't know what level of awareness that was happening at, but I think there was an interview where he even maybe was aware of it. I think there was an interview quote I saw. He said something like, it is also just a story about killing bugs. So yeah, there's like the over the top like satire of Nazism or whatever in it, but there's something else there too. And if you just watch it as a casual viewer, you definitely see it, and you'll be like cheering at these parts. And the Vietnamese girls will be cheering at these parts, and then someone will come into the comments and mansplain, actually, Neil Patrick Harris is wearing a Nazi uniform because you're supposed to know that the human society is actually kind of bad. I'm very smart. It's like, okay, retard. Okay, fag. Very cool. All right, let's get into the stories. Of course, the big one, the tariffs. Now, the thing about the tariffs is, here, I'm just going to read these Twitter posts here. This is from Just Loki. It is funny how sycophantic the left is, so easily adopting the talking points of investment banks in a non-reflective way. I remember when these people thought Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan were the devil incarnate. And then there's a reply here from Guillemon. That's it's a reference to 40K. The Venn diagram of people who months ago were posting "Eat the Rich," who are now mad the rich are losing money, is just a circle. Now, some Reddit phrasing, some Reddit humor there. Venn diagram is just a circle. But he's right. Like, I was thinking about this a lot. So Trump does this massive pro-worker, pro-American worker move that makes the stock market lose, 5 to 10% of its value. And the left hates it somehow. The people who would describe themselves as anti-capitalist hate that for some reason, even though the United Auto Workers endorsed it. They hate it. This is what I mean when I say I actually don't have that much of a problem with a lot of like real leftism, and I read some leftist things sometimes. I think there was an article in Jacobin which was saying that the tariffs are part of a good start, but not going far enough. Of course, they didn't quite phrase it that way because they have to be kind of gay and anti-Trump no matter what. But they kind of were admitting, like, okay, tariffs could be part of a balanced breakfast that takes on this whole monster. And it's like, yeah, you know, you're not entitled to slave labor. That's the thing. You can't just optimize away labor and be like, okay, we're going to have a society with no slave labor. We're going to have our society with strict environmental rules. So for the production of goods, you've got to have really, really high pay. You've got to have benefits. You need time off. You need, you know, to not dump poison in the river. And then everybody's like, okay, we're going to have all those things, but the t-shirts are also going to be $5 at Walmart. So they're going to be made by slaves in Bangladesh. We're going to go back to Bangladesh later. Very cool things are happening in Bangladesh. But here, let's just do this. I'm going to show you. There's this brand, American Giant. Okay, let's just go to American Giant right now. An American Giant, they sell clothes all made in America. All right? So let's just shop at American Giant. Let's look at men's, tops, tees and tops. Okay, let's see. Here we go. Here's a premium slub crew tee, whatever that is. It's a blue t-shirt. Okay? Blue t-shirt here. Uh-oh, why is it being weird? Sorry if you're just listening. My browser decided to be gay for a second. I think maybe it's my my dark reader here. Let's try this again. Oh, my browser's being super, super gay. Okay, hold on. One moment here. I'll fix it. Don't worry, everybody. No problem. No technical difficulties here. We'll have it all fixed in a second. And I'm not cutting this out. I don't care. Not cutting anything out. You just have to listen. You just have to deal with it. Here we go. Okay. Back to American Giant. Anyway, here we go. T-shirts, $55. Okay? That's the point. This is what a t-shirt should probably cost. It should actually cost more than this because I think whoever is making the t-shirt should be able to raise a family of 4 with a single parent income. I think there should be a man in a factory making these t-shirts. He should have a wife and 2 kids back home. He should have a mortgage that he's paying for that he's not getting totally fucked on. His kids should go to a safe school. And I think that is like my most left-wing position. The t-shirt should cost $55. It should probably cost $110, actually. But, you know, whatever. Okay, let's see what else. Let's look at some other clothes here. Bottoms, denim. All right, let's look at some jeans. Hey, not bad. $175? That's cheap. That's not bad. I mean, the quality's probably shit. But hey, okay. Hoodies. Let's look at a hoodie. $148. $138. That's not bad, right? But my point is, of course, you can buy clothes that are much more expensive than that are made in China or whatever. But that's my point. These basic clothes, this is what they should cost. This should be the floor. The floor for a t-shirt should be $55, okay? $20 hoodie at Walmart also doesn't make any sense. That's the point. And the tariffs should keep increasing until things are priced that way. So in the end, it's just, why not make them in America? And that will lower the GDP, and I don't care about the GDP. I don't give a shit. Actually, now's a good time. Let's play another Orcbrand song, shall we? I actually wasn't planning to do this, but it's perfect timing for it. Oh no, my searching has failed. Hold on. Okay. Wow, he's got a lot of songs. All right, short little break. We're going to play this song. Listen to this. This is exactly how I feel. Here we go.
What the fuck is wrong with bro? Bro's lost it. Bro's fallen. Bro's gone. Bro's down. Bro's down. Bro's over. Bruh. Bro's invested in the stock market. Bro doesn't know about the scam. Bro believes, bro still believes. Bro doesn't know. Bro stocks have been fake for years. Bro invested in a bubble again. Bro thought this one wouldn't pop. Bro sophisticated. Bro bought a toxic asset. Bro's too big to fail this time. Bro requests more regulation. Bro knows blue states pay more in taxes. Bro feels good about that. Bro would hate to be a dirty red state peasant, not paying his fair share. Bro knows the more tax you pay, the more good things there are. Bro says any problem can be solved with just paying more taxes. Bro sat there and defended a tax on unrealized gains. Bro fears recession. Bro didn't like it when I said maybe it's more like a tax on unfulfilled potential. Bro, look at all those things that you promised that never manifested. Wow, amazing, awe-inspiring. We're taxing that now, bro. Bro, you're being taxed now. Bro says it's normal to be harassed on the subway. Bro says you're a bitch if you don't like riding buses. Bro says it's very cool to shoplift. Bro doesn't mind that you shoot up dope at the playground. Bro minds his business. Bro cried when the cop shot the guy who mugged him. Bro tells you men get pregnant. Bro tells you kids age 3 figure out true genders. Bro says the highest per pupil spending in the whole world is not enough funding. Bro says it's racist to have expectations and standards. Bro thinks it's unfair that you had parents who loved you. Bro identifies with bugs and aliens. Bro identifies as the oppressed in every circumstance. Bro knows it's nuance when it fits his biases. Bro thinks it's smart when it validates him. Bro has a PhD in fact-checking. Bro's study is so peer-reviewed, it scares me. Bro an expert. Bro believes there's only one crime, poverty. Bro believes there's only one sin, a lack of empathy. Bro affirms a social consciousness. Bro never validates regressive prejudices. Bro will not tolerate a bigotry. Bro always be punching upwardly. Bro human being fucking decently. Bro's telling you to unalive yourself. Bro's telling you to take a toaster bath. Bro's in your DM and he's telling you to perform drastic acts. Bro's calling your mom to tell on you. Bro's digging up your land records. Bro contacting your boss. Bro mad you tweeted that. Bro suspects you are mentally ill for thinking that. Bro blames alt-right for brainwashing you. Bro recommends you watch this one Netflix series. Bro wants you to sit through a toxic whiteness semen. Bro worries dad might be getting Hitlerized. Bro wishes for re-education camps. What the fuck is wrong with bro? Bro lost it. Bro's falling off the deep end. Bro's falling off. Bro's falling. Bro's gone to sleep forever. Bro's gone. Whoa. It's gone. What the fuck? bro, lows dead, bros falling off the deep end, bros coming home, bros falling, bros gone to sleep forever, bros gone but he wasn't always like this. Into bro down, over, I repeat, bro is down.
Oh, that song. I know it's just AI, but yeah, there is something there. I was thinking about a friend that I have. I have a friend, and he went to. He was a white guy, and he went to like a non-white school, and I was friends with him in high school, and he was like the only friend in our friend group who didn't go to like our same high school, right? And then I remember one day years after we were finished high school, I was talking to him, and he said he was telling me like how hard it was. Like he never really talked about his school at all. And he just started telling me he opened up one day about like how hard it was in that school. Um just like being a white kid in that school. Like it was not easy. And it was mostly like mostly Hispanic people there, like Mexicans. And he was like, yeah, he was like a fat, nerdy white guy. And he was like, yeah, it was really hard. And like, it was in the context of saying like how close he got to like our friend group and how important it was. And it was important to all of us. It was a good time. And, I remembered that. And like, I thought, wow, like, because I was so like touched. This was all like way like pre-Trump. This is like George W. Bush years still, I think. And no, this would be Obama years, early Obama years. And like, he said this to me, and like it was so touching, it just stuck with me. So it became like a crystal clear memory in my mind about him saying this, and like, being honest about that experience and everything. When the Black Lives Matter shit happened, I haven't talked to him in years, and I saw a Facebook post from him during the Black Lives Matter thing about how great it was to grow up in a diverse neighborhood and go to a diverse school. And it's like, okay. I mean, how do you even fight that level of brainwashing? I don't even know what you do with that at that point. Like, somebody's lived experience is this thing that they're going, look, I'm even using like gay language here, lived experience. But like his actual life was like, this thing was really hard. And let me tell you with tears in my eyes about how hard it was. And let's share this moment, bro. And then to the world, a few years later, he's totally, I don't think he was like bullshitting. I think he was bullshitting himself. Like he made himself believe this and posted it, saying like, yeah, at least I went to a racially diverse school. I'm not a fucking racist. And it's like, why are you saying that? Like, I'm not saying you have to be racist or something. You can even say, well, I had a bad experience, but, we need to do diversity in a way that works or something. Whatever. I'm not going to, like, police you on that. But when you're just saying this, like, lib shit drivel, God, that pissed me off. And, yeah, that Orcbrand's, I don't know, do you even call them songs if they're AI? Whatever that was, yeah, it made me think of him this week. I was listening to this. I was listening to, obviously, if you're listening to the podcast, I went on a big Orcbrand thing this week. I was listening to it a lot. I also had, during Black Lives Matter, I went to a high school that was like maybe 50-50 white and black. And I had some friends who weren't white. One of my best friends is not white. He was one of the few Hispanic kids there. He was one of my closest friends. And of course, I had some friends who were black. Most of my friends were white, and all my close friendships were, except for who I just mentioned, that Hispanic guy, who I love. But yeah, that was my experience at high school, right? And but I knew other white kids there who had like zero interactions with black people. It's like, so it's a school that's like, it's 50% black, and these people, like, I never even saw them once like engage in any kind of talk with any black person. Like, not a single, maybe a teacher or something, but like they just, you know, and they weren't like overtly racist or anything, but they didn't get outside of their bubble to like make friends or whatever, which is fine. It's totally fine. I don't blame them for that or anything. I don't think there's anything wrong with what they did. But this one girl who was like that, I mean, 4 years I didn't see her talk to a black person when half the people around were black. 4 years. And then when Black Lives Matter happened, she posted a black square on Facebook. And again, I was never close to her, like when we went to the same high school or anything, but and I didn't talk to her, like I hadn't talked to her for years at this point at all. And but we were Facebook friends. She posted a black square. She literally posted a black square. She's like, she's gonna like lecture guys like me about our whiteness or something. And it's like, did you even talk to a black? Do you know those people who were walking around us for those 4 years? You know they were people, right? Did you know that you could like talk to them and engage with them? Did you know that? And yeah, those are the people. And so it's the same with like the eat the rich stuff to some extent, where it's like the people who know the least about business, the people who are unironically calling for like an unrealized capital gains tax, which like I'm pretty anti-capitalist, but an unrealized capital gains tax is like, it's literally insane. Like it's actually retarded. Like if you know anything or look into it at all in any way, like it is retarded. It's like retarded and evil and uncapitalized, or an unrealized gains tax, right? Unrealized. What am I talking? Am I retarded? Hold on. A tax on unrealized gains. Is that okay? Whatever. You know what I'm talking about. When you your investments, you haven't cashed them out yet, and they still want to tax you on them. Yeah, sure, it gets abused. There's all kinds of tax schemes you can do, but obviously you can't tax unrealized gains. That's retarded. And the people who are like advocating for that right now are the same people. In their minds, they're these leftists. They're the eat the rich people, and they're the ones saying about, well, Trump just did these tariffs to make American workers more competitive, and look what happened to the stock market. That fucking idiot. I mean, what are we doing here? I don't, bro invested in the stock market. Fuck off. You're not entitled to slave labor. You're just not entitled to slave labor. Okay? You're not entitled to pollute the half of the earth that you're not on. And I say this as a person who doesn't live in China, but lives close enough that their fucking pollution blows over the ocean and makes me have a cough at night. All because the West decided it's okay to have environmental regulations in one country and then ship all the jobs to another country where they don't have to deal with it. I feel a lot of hatred. I was actually thinking I'd be like looser and more funny in this one. I'm just being gay the whole time. Sorry. All right, let's go. Let's amp the hatred up even more, shall we? And let's talk about when you want more than just cheap foreign labor in other countries, but you actually want to import it to America, and even just forget the laws and just do that illegally. That's what this Channel 5 video is about. Channel 5 with Andrew Callahan. I like it. Andrew is an interesting guy. He is clearly a leftist or has left-leaning sensibilities. which isn't really a problem for me. Again, I'm usually okay with that. He even got like canceled. So what happened was he went on an NPR interview and he sort of humiliated the school marm librarian NPR lady who was interviewing him. She said like, "Hey, don't you think that you're an evil jackass for interviewing Alex Jones? And how do you think the parents of those kids feel with the whole Alex Jones thing?" And he was like, "Well, actually, the lawyer for the parents of those kids talked to me and said he loved my interview with Alex Jones." And then everybody clapped and laughed at the NPR lady. And after that, within like a couple days, he got canceled because he supposedly, like, I don't even know what this means, pestered women for sex, which they then gave him. And it's like, you read it and you're like, okay, so he raped these girls? And it's like, no, but I was in the car with him and he said, "Can we please have sex?" And I said, "No, I don't want to." And he said, "Oh, really? I really, really want to. Can we please?" And then I said, "Okay." And it's like, okay, interesting anecdote. Now, why are we talking about this? And it's like, oh, because he should lose his YouTube channel and all his sponsorships and his life should be over. And it's like, should it? Should it? Because it sounds like you should just say no a second time and then walk away. How does that sound? I mean, he asked and you said no, and then he held you down and ripped off your clothes and forcibly raped you? Oh, no? What did he do after you said no? He asked again? I mean, what? What is he... but anyway, he's still a bit of a leftist cuck. I like some of his videos, though, and I usually watch them. He has fairly covered some things. Like, he showed, like, Alex Jones saying on January 6th, like, not to... Was it January 6th or January 5th? Whatever it is, you know what I'm talking about. The Capitol Day. He showed, like, Alex Jones, like, yelling at people not to go in and stuff. And, like, he defended him to some extent because it wasn't true that he said that people should go in. And he also had a great documentary about Philadelphia and the fentanyl academic. I really should edit that out so you don't think I'm super retarded, but I'll leave it in. I'm talking like sometimes I talk like a black entrepreneur. Have you ever heard them talk the way they get these, like, they confidently say these words that are really, like, similar? The fentanyl academic. I talk that way, and it's funny. I was just listening to a live stream with Ben Avery from Lemon Party. He does a weekly live stream now, and he was making fun of this guy talking. It was the guy who said Will Smith got fucked in the ass by some other guy, and he walked in on it. He talks like a black entrepreneur. He's a black guy, and he, like, does that whole thing. And he did that, like, several times. That mistake I just made. He made, like, 10 of those mistakes in the course of this, like, interview that Ben was watching on his stream. And Ben was, like, making fun of him for, like, being such a retard. And I was like, yeah, I don't do that. That's totally different from what I do. But anyway, Andrew Callahan, he made a pretty good documentary about the sort of the drug issue in Philadelphia and Kensington and sort of the root causes. And I don't agree with all of his conclusions or where he goes with it. Like, he talked a lot about, like, white flight, and he does the thing that, like, kind of midwits do when they talk about white flight, which is, like, they bring up this historical data about it, but they don't, like, look at, like, the actual, like, crime epidemic that was happening. Like, there's a reason films like God, what was it? What's the film with Bronson? but whatever. There's a reason like these like white vigilante films became like popular in that era, and like the crime was like horrific. Like these white communities were getting like destroyed by crime suddenly, and so they all left. They all left the inner cities. And so white flight did happen, and it did affect the cities, but it's not like it happened. It's not like a bunch of white people got together and just were like, fuck this, we're leaving for no reason. It was because of like, so he goes into depth with things, and he talks about like white flight. I believe he does in that documentary, and sort of how it leads to these issues. And then there's gentrification. But when he talks about white flight, he does the midwit thing, and he doesn't bring up like why white flight actually happened. Okay, but anyway, here's his newest documentary, I think, on YouTube. Might not be the newest, but I just watched it this week, and it's about the mass deportations, and he's got this this guy who runs like a house for quote unquote migrants, like a safe house for them or whatever, who's this really like well-spoken white guy. Last name's Garcia, but he looks white. So I'm just going to play this little clip here because it really brought my piss to a boil.
Annunciation House also stresses how migration, documented or undocumented, can be beneficial to the economy.
In order for a country to maintain stability, you need a certain birth rate.
And listen to this music he plays in the background too, while this guy's talking. It's all this like, you know, crazy imagery and stuff and smash cuts, and then like when it gets to this guy, it's like, oh, this guy you take seriously. Listen to this music. I fucking hate this. Andrew raped me with this video.
Every woman needs to have 2.1, 2.2 children. That keeps your population stable. That is immensely important for your economy. Right now, China will incentivize you to have babies. Russia, France, Germany, they're all incentivizing. The birth rate in the United States right now is about 1.5. So you're my fairy godmother. You have your wand. Go ahead, close all four sides. Close the Pacific, the Atlantic, the Southern. Not another human being comes in, and watch what's going to happen. Our country can't continue unless we have a healthy influx of immigrants.
Now, okay, imagine watching this and you're like a young man who just doesn't really do that well in school, but you're willing to work, and you're willing to work with your hands. Like this guy, the way he's talking, the way they've got the music playing behind him, this really just pissed me off so much. Like, the country is supposed to be your birthright. Like, your ancestors fought in these, and this is, okay, here's another leftist thing. Like, if you look at the history of, like, the fight for workers' rights in the United States, even, like, pre-industrial revolution, if you go back to, like, 1860, or whatever, around that time, it was in Lincoln's first campaign. Here's a little nugget I got from known, you know, fascist right-wing figure Noam Chomsky. This is something he talked about. Like, when Lincoln was running for president, the Republican Party platform said an end to chattel slavery and an end to wage slavery. That's how seriously they took it back then, because they didn't like the idea that someone would just never own their own property, like usually a farm or some kind of business, and they would just get wages for their whole life. Even in 1860, that was a question, that was an issue. It's something people were concerned about, and it was connected to slavery even then. Chattel slavery meaning slavery of black people in the US. So this was an issue even back then. And then you get into, you know, the battles fought like for workers' rights in the early 20th century, and you know, it's all this like, there's sort of this leftist triumphalism, and like, you know, the unions, they became powerful. There were these general strikes, you know, and then eventually we got the trust busting and the New Deal, and we fought these big businesses and we did this. And it's like, yes, we did. And you can take all those as left-wing victories. Those are supposed to be the birthright of your children. Okay, let's quote from another leftist. This is something Zizek said. If you go to China and you want to read a Bible, or you want to read George Orwell or whatever, I mean, of course, I'm paraphrasing. I don't exactly remember. This podcast is all just half-remembered bullshit I make up. But yeah, you're in China. You want to read a Bible? No problem. Orwell? No problem. You want to do something like that? No problem. If you want to form a labor union in China, you're going to prison. If you try to organize the labor, you're going to prison. Okay? In America, a part of our birthright is the workers' rights that we have. Okay? That's our birthright. And the higher wages, it's the birthright. And this guy, under the guise of it being like empathy or whatever, like, and I understand, like, he's working with these people, that's in his heart or whatever, but he's robbing you of your birthright when he talks like this. Like, I don't care if the GDP falls. It's just like the tariffs. I don't give a shit. Let the GDP fall. You have a right to not have to compete with Guillermo from God knows where, from Venezuela, to do roofing. Okay? If you're going to build somebody's McMansion or whatever, then you should be paid an amount that lets you yourself be able to buy a home. Guillermo's going to go like tend to a house. He's going to live tend to a house somewhere. Guillermo's fine with wage slavery because that's the default. Because he doesn't have the same birthright. His ancestors didn't do the same thing. They didn't fight the same battles that your ancestors fought. He's not entitled to come live in America. No one is entitled to come live anywhere. I mean, I say this myself as someone who doesn't live in America. I live somewhere else. It was very, very hard to get permanent residency. It was easy to come and work for me because they want Americans like me. But it was almost impossible to get permanent residency. I was able to do it. And America is a country that historically had a lot of immigration because it was empty. And it was empty because, well, do we want to go into that? I mean, because of disease, let's say. It was empty because of disease, and it needed to be filled, so we filled it with mostly Europeans. Filling it with Guillermo's, and no offense to Guillermo's, it's fine. And we all know how I feel about Latinas. I've gone on about it too much. I won't bring it up again. But, you just, hey, if you want to fix things, go back to your country and go fight for labor rights for 100 years. My forefathers did that in my country. So if I go make a living with my hands, I'm going to be paid this much. And I'm not going to compete with you. I don't care if you'll work harder than me. I don't give a shit. Fuck off. Fuck off back to go work harder in your country then. And if you work harder and cheaper for me in your country and you want to send something to my country, then there's going to be like a 200% tariff. Asshole. Fuck you. Okay. This is a little angry today. A little angry. I do want to tone it down. I am going to tone it down and be funnier later. I promise. I'll be funny. I know you're listening to this podcast to be entertained. I'll be entertaining later. I swear. Just don't unsubscribe. Just stay with it. Just trust me. Just trust the process. Trust the plan. Okay, here's a funny story. This one, we'll kind of cleanse the palate with this one. This one made me laugh a lot. Let me fix my browser here. Okay. Here's the New York Times. I told you we'd get back to Bangladesh, and here we are. As Bangladesh reinvents itself, Islamist hardliners see an opening. A brewing shift toward religious conservatism has emerged from the political vacuum in this country of 175 million people. What is up with these countries? Like, Bangladesh, 175 million people. You know, we got to talk about, like, Canada all the time. There's 5 people who live in Canada. It's like, what are we talking about? And then you hear about, like, Bangladesh. I know that Canada is rapidly trying to bring those 175 million Bangladeshis into itself to increase its population over 200 million for some reason. But, like, Bangladesh, 175 million, that seems like a lot. That's way more than I would have thought. Okay. Here's how the New York Times opens this article. The extremists began by asserting control over women's bodies. I need an AI to rewrite every New York Times article to, like, give me one tab that summarizes everything that happened, and then another tab that's just the egregious writing and framing of the article, like, described with quotes, so I can take them in separately. I actually completely forgot that this article opened this way, with this fucking line. The extremists began by asserting control over women's bodies. Remind you of anything? It's just like Donald Trump. Okay. In the political vacuum that has emerged after the overthrow of Bangladesh's authoritarian leader, religious fundamentalists in one town declared that young women could no longer play soccer. In another, they forced the police to free a man who had harassed a woman for not covering her hair in public, then draped him in garlands of flowers. That kicks ass, honestly. I know I'm supposed to hate Muslims, but come on. Come on. More brazen calls followed. Demonstrators at a rally in Dhaka, the capital, warned that if the government did not give the death penalty to anyone who disrespected Islam, they would carry out executions with their own hands. Days later, an outlawed group held a large march demanding an Islamic caliphate. As Bangladesh tries to rebuild its democracy and chart a new future for its 175 million people, a streak of Islamist extremism that had long lurked beneath the country's secular facade is bubbling to the surface. In interviews, representatives of several Islamist parties and organizations, some of which had previously been banned, made clear that they were working to push Bangladesh in a more fundamentalist direction, a shift that has been little noticed outside the country. Yeah, of course it's been little noticed outside the country. Who has talked about Bangladesh? Who would notice anything that happens in Bangladesh? Hey, did you hear what happened in Bangladesh? No. No, I've never heard anyone ever say, did you hear what happened in Bangladesh? And if someone came up to me and they said, Wizard Cat, did you hear what happened in Bangladesh? I would say, I want to end this conversation. Do not continue. I'll read about it later and talk about it on my racist podcast, but I don't want to talk about it with you right now. Okay. The Islamist leaders are insisting that Bangladesh erect an Islamist government, blah, 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 blah. All right, but let's get to the funny part. Okay, here's the whole reason I wanted to read this article. This is one of the funniest things I've read in a long time. The fundamentalist turn has been especially distressing for female students who helped oust the country's repressive prime minister, Sheikh Hasina. This is why democracy really does suck my ass, and it's so gay. There is only power, okay, ladies? I guess you're going to have to learn the hard way. There's power, and that's it. So if there was a quote-unquote repressive leader who wasn't elected democratically, but he was, like, letting you guys go to school, that's your guy. That's it. That's your guy. You can't be like, well, no, the people are going to elect because democracy is moral and the people should elect the leader. What? The people want to give garlands of rosebuds to the guys who slap your ass and tell you to cover your hair on the street. The people want an Islamic caliphate. That for moral reasons, you want the people to decide their leader? I mean, it is funny when people kind of get what they ask for, get what they deserve. All right, I think I said that was the last one. I've actually got one more quick one. Got one more quick one. This was funny. So everybody knows Glengarry Glen Ross, I think. Everybody knows it from the movie. Of course, it was a play first. But what are you, some kind of fag? You go to plays. Come on. You're listening to this podcast and you go to plays. Let's cut it out. Everybody knows the movie, though, right? Coffee is for closers. You know, it takes brass balls to sell. Whatever. We all know it. Great movie. And there's this review from the Daily Beast that's absolutely incredible because there's a revival now with Kieran Culkin, Bob Odenkirk, Bill Burr, Michael McKean. Kieran Culkin was great in Succession. He's kind of perfect for this play. And the review in the Daily Beast, it's actually incredible. Like I was shocked when I saw it. And here's a tweet. A new revival of Glengarry Glen Ross lands with a puzzling, bitter thud. The play's racist and homophobic slurs land hard in the era of MAGA. Okay, so here's the actual review in the article. The audience laughed at the many lines degrading Indian Americans, like, don't ever try to sell to an Indian. Oh, look, there's actually a typo in this article. Don't ever try to sell an Indian. Oh, come on, Daily Beast, get it together. You know, nothing boils my piss like this. You're writing an article about how everyone else is a retard and you're moral and right, and you have a fucking typo in here? All right, let's try again, Daily Beast. Let's try again, and next time, have an editor who actually knows what the fuck they're doing and isn't just some gender studies major from some fucking... All right, I'm not going to continue that sentence. That's retarded. Okay, sorry. Here we go. The audience laughed at the many lines degrading Indian Americans, like, don't ever try to sell an Indian. You get those names come up. You ever get them? Patel never bought a fucking thing. A supercilious race. They laughed when fairy was lobbed as another insult. And at the mention of Polacks, the laughter was of the simplest kind. It was at that insult or slur, those people, including the later mention of WOG. It was not nervous or derisive laughter. It was literal laughter, a mirror response to how the words were originally written and intended for the characters who said them, and how they are being faithfully spoken by the actors in the all-star Broadway production of David Mamet's Pulitzer-winning 1984 play, Glengarry Glen Ross. Beamed into 2025 via the enduring cultural imprint of the 1992 movie starring Al Pacino and Alec Baldwin, this revival of Glengarry Glen Ross lands with a puzzling, bitter thud. Does it? Does it land with a thud, or is the audience bursting into laughter? Which one is it? It seems like you have to pick one, doesn't it? Seems like you have to pick one. Okay, let's go to Aaron Gwynn. Ooh, okay. There are replies here from Aaron Gwynn and from Orcbrand. Aaron Gwynn's got, you know what it takes. Hold on, let me make this visible. Okay. You know what it takes to misunderstand a play this completely? That's pretty funny. Aaron Gwynn is a writer, an author. He writes a lot about Cormac McCarthy. He has, I think, a podcast or a YouTube series about him. He's an interesting guy. Very good tweeter. Not exactly right-wing, but a very good tweeter. Yeah, so he said, you know what it takes to misunderstand a play this completely, and he's got Alec Baldwin. holding the brass balls from the scene. That's kind of funny. And Orcbrand, this pearl clutching is dangerously dated. That's cool. Very Orcbrand heavy episode today. All right, and I'm going to have Orcbrand take us out with another fun song. I'll see you next time, everybody. Goodbye.
Hold on, buddy. Before you hit that vape, replace that coil, use this one. This one has been Hitlerized by racial conflict. Oh, and here's the blueberry lemon juice. This stuff is full of Hitlerized salts. Now careful of those clouds you're puffing are a powerful delousing agent. Puffin' Hitlerized juice, Hitlerized clouds taste like Hitlerized fruits. Blueberry lemon goes hard like a delousing agent. Puffin' Hitlerized juice, vaping racial conflict. Puffin' Hitlerized juice, vaping racial conflict. Hold on, buddy. Before you hit that vape, replace that coil, use this one. This one has been Hitlerized by racial conflict. Oh, and here's the blueberry lemon juice. This stuff is full of Hitlerized salts. Now careful of those clouds you're puffing are a powerful delousing agent. Puffin' Hitlerized juice, Hitlerized clouds taste like Hitlerized fruits. Blueberry lemon goes hard like a delousing agent. Puffin' Hitlerized juice, vaping racial conflict. Puffin' Hitlerized juice, vaping racial conflict. Puffin' Hitlerized juice, Hitlerized clouds taste like Hitlerized fruits. Blueberry lemon goes hard like a delousing agent. Blueberry lemon, Hitlerized. Racial conflict in the Poughkeepsie vape store. Indian man selling me vape juice is confronted as he's holding the item he intends to charge me for by an African American youth. His face entirely covered in a black mask, insisting that the Indian man allow him to charge his phone in the store. The Indian man refuses, says, "New brew, my boss already call me ass. Why customers waiting 30 minutes, who that and back? I can't brew, I can't, yo." Says the youth, "Bro, just let me charge my phone, bro. I ain't even doing nothing, I can't let you do that." Says the Indian, "No, bro, I can't, no. I already let you, I'm in trouble." He's still holding my fucking coils, bruh. Says the youth, "Just let me charge my phone, bro. How much that charger? I'll pay it, is not for sale." The Indian, still holding my increasingly Hitlerized coils. The youth finally steps away, then he turns around. "Yo, what the fuck?" What says the Indian man holding my coils? "Yo, what the fuck?" Says the youth. What says the Indian man holding my coils? "Yo, what the fuck? Just let me charge my phone, I even pay you. I cannot do that for you. You want I certified for you? Boss already call me ask why customer waiting for 30 minutes, bruh." Says the youth. Finally the Indian man scans my coils. The argument continues as I pay for my goods, sign my name, push button for no receipt, and leave without a word I don't understand. Says the youth, "I ain't doing nothing, I ain't bothering you, I just wanna charge my phone." Agent. Blueberry lemon, Hitlerized. Bruh, just let me charge my phone, I ain't even doing nothing, bro. Bruh, I cannot do that.